Manscaped, the leaders in below the waistline grooming, because we know if you're going out there on these big days, these special occasions, trying to get a little action, and you're not up to par, it's JV. That's not varsity. It's not going to be working. You're going to get denied. You don't want that. But you know what'll get you the opposite of a rejection? What'll get you access? What'll get you that smile that you're looking for?
What's that?
The Ultra Premium Collection. We talked about it last time, right?
Yeah.
I started to go back in depth and bring all the props back out. You know what I mean? But it was like, no, we ain't gonna do that today. But this Ultra Premium Collection, the deodorant, the body wash, the 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner. Can't forget about, that lip balm as well. With that, man, that'll always get you scoring the way you need to score. That'll always have your Valentine's Day feeling great and ultimately just make you, life a lot easier and better, baby, because everybody loves a Manscaped person. So with that being said, we don't talk about you unless we got action for you. And that action is in the way of a promo code. MOATS. That's it. Get you 20% off and your free shipping worldwide, baby. Just like that. So stop wasting time. Don't have your Deke looking crazy out here. Make sure you take care of Deke, all right? Manscaped, shout out.
Herman Mercado here. I like this one. I was going to bring this one up, actually, a little bit later. Maybe we could talk about it later. But he says, Steelers need to modernize their thinking in form of playing football, or else we're going to stay living in our past and never win a dang playoff game. That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah. Should the Steelers adopt the Rams mentality? F them picks.
Yeah, well, I do like what the Rams have done. Since they've started this model, it has defied what the status quo is for NFL methods of building rosters and acquiring talent. Typically, it's always draft-centric. It's always building within, whereas the Rams, they've taken a different approach where they don't care about draft picks. They will give up all of their draft picks solely so that they can acquire whoever they want in free agency. They don't mind spending money. They don't mind trading for players. And at times in Pittsburgh, whenever we bring up some of these names, we're always laughed at. People like, oh, why would you even consider that? But then they're the main ones asking, well, hey, why don't we have that type of talent out there? Why don't we have those type of players at all these different positions? Well, with the different methods, they do have different strengths and weaknesses. But the one thing that I would say is this: now that we've seen the Rams actually win a Super Bowl from that and actually have gone to 2 in the past, 4 years now, the method can work. That's a proven model now. They've shown that, yes, you can win by being aggressive in free agency, not necessarily going the old school route of through the draft, and you can get instant results in some cases, like I think what the Rams have experienced. But pros and cons to both sides, right? When you're talking about going through free agency, you have to hit on these picks, because if you don't, you send or you put money in on this player or whatever, and he doesn't produce. Now all that money is tied up with that guy. Whereas when you're drafting guys, if you miss on a draft pick, but he was a 3rd round pick, the compensation for that player as a 3rd round pick compared to a guy that you might have gotten in free agency or through trade, the risk reward factor is a little bit different there. Also, when you're talking about free agents versus draft picks, free agents, think Melvin Ingram, is hit or miss in terms of if they buy into the culture, if they stay bought into the culture, and if they're going to go that route. Or you can get the kind where they are set in their ways and they are not going to go for everything that you tell them. You're going to have to explain a little bit more or just compromise in a sense. Whereas with draft picks, because typically they're younger, coming out of college, more naive, don't really have a leg to stand on in terms of speaking back to a coach, those guys you can typically mold and have your hands on and imprint them a lot more. But that puts more of an onus on the position coaches, right? So if you have bad position coaches, the development from draft picks can, take a hit. Whereas when you have higher end free agents, the position coaches don't necessarily matter as much. Now they still are important, but it's just a different level because you're getting a more proven commodity. So like I said, you can win either way. Just one is, it's just different. It's kind of like the Moneyball approach, right? Compared to your regular just drafting stuff. It's like, no, you can be successful either way, but both of them have their challenges. But I'm cool with either way, man. Honestly, I like that. Like I said, the Rams, they just scream innovation to me, though. When you're watching them and how they've operated since McVay has gotten out there, they're innovative.
I wonder how long their window is going to be. That's something I wanted to even bring up a little bit later in the show.
Yeah.
But with bringing in guys, I think what's interesting with the Rams is a couple things. One is they made some bad deals with players.
They have.
Jared Goff, also Todd Gurley. I know those weren't free agents that they brought in or traded for.
But they've had bad deals.
But those are bad deals. And somehow they've been able to get up off of them and then on to the next year because now you could start using your picks maybe from 2 or 3 years down the line. It's just been a cycle of like, I don't care about the picks for the next 2 years. And then all of a sudden that year goes by. Okay, now we got a whole new open bank of picks that we can start using because, I don't know, if you start trading 2026 or 2027, those are like really irrelevant. You want stuff that's within probably a
2-year range,
maybe even 3-year window. So they've just been operating on a year-to-year basis where all of a sudden, all right, new bank of picks are open. Let's start getting rid of them. And they bring in guys, and here's the other thing. When you bring up the Melvin Ingram scenario, they're bringing in guys that are automatically having a role.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to be happy. Whereas with us taking the risk on Ingram, we've done it a certain way here, bringing in that veteran. We're like, you could sit behind the guy that we're developing here in Highsmith. I don't know what your role is going to be. But if we went for Ingram, we went for the big name guys and didn't have all these draft picks, you are the guy. So I think that would affect the happiness in a good way.
Yeah, well, and
you saw it with the Chiefs.
But think about this. Case in point is this. It just goes back to the root issue, which is you have to commit to it.
Right.
Steelers didn't commit to that. And we said that going into last season that they kind of were half-hearted. We don't know if they wanted to be super aggressive or super conservative. They fell right in the middle, and you're going to get those results. Whereas when you talk about the Rams, when you talk about the Chiefs, we're not debating how aggressive they are willing to be in terms of free agency or even in trading draft picks or just trading in general. Those teams are clearly aggressive. They don't toe that line. They go and get who they want.
And Ingram worked. Josh Gordon-Bell didn't work, but you saw the impact Ingram had for them this year. They didn't have a good pass rush.
Yeah, but it's like if all you do is say, hey, I only want to go one at a time and I have to hit every single one, that's not realistic. And if you operate like that, you're never going to get the next guy, that Melvin Ingram, like you talked about. Or even, when you think about just some of these different players between the Chiefs and Rams where they've just, this guy came in and he gave them a spark. He gave them a couple, whatever, this week or that week. Like, you can't get that without being aggressive like that. But that's the thing. Like, if you're going to do it, you have to fully commit to it. I'm not saying the Steelers can't do that, but remember history, because that's what everybody brings up every time we speak of these things. That's not the Steelers' way. I get it. I just hope that the Steelers' way will continue to be winning. And part of it has to be, you acquiring certain levels of talent. It's a lot easier to stick with the building through the draft method and being, a little bit more reserved when you have a surefire franchise quarterback. Right now, we don't have that. So that's part of the reason why you also got to get creative as well. Because when you think about Jared Goff alone wasn't enough for that team to win. But when they brought in more talent, he got them to a Super Bowl.
They got rid of him too.
Right. Matthew Stafford by himself, probably not enough. But when you bring in Odell, when you bring in Von Miller, when you bring in pieces like that, it can make your team good enough to get over the hump. Because we said, well, Stafford, he had a really good season, but at times it was up and down. So with that, though, if you are aggressive and you're actually building your team like we're talking about and you commit to this way, you can find ways to win around that. You can find ways that, hey, if I know I got these guys and all I need them for is these big type games. Yeah. Find ways to get them there. Find ways to just, all right, get me out of this stadium just so I can get to that one. If I get to this big one, I know these guys will show up. And that's how I felt watching the Rams, man. Like, they were just getting all this talent. Like, yo, we're going to need you for one of them games. And all of those dudes in some form or fashion did show up in the postseason and even more so in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm just wondering with this offseason we have upon us right now with all the cap space, we do have still a decent amount of picks.
Yeah.
Not only this year, but then next year, because we still have our top 3 this year. But then, we have the bank of picks, for the foreseeable future. Yeah. I wonder if this would be the year to do something like that.
Like I said,
you have to get. I think you start with the franchise quarterback, though.
Yeah, I'm all for innovation, man. Like, I would love to see
Watson's cleared, obviously, but then even Russ. I mean, you get 4 or 5 years right there. Stafford, they're about the same age. You see what happened.
Just imagine how drastically that changes the face of this franchise if you're aggressive right now, getting one of those people. No, the Steelers don't do this. Don't think about the Steelers don't do this. No, because that's old and boring. Clearly, that way hasn't worked of lately, right? It's like, man, why can't you change it up? It doesn't hurt anything being aggressive right now because let's be real. We know that this team would have holes anyways if you weren't aggressive. If you did try to be conservative, you were going to have a 2 to 3 year window of having to rebuild it. It's like, man, be aggressive. Go get a quarterback because with the higher end quarterback right now, this team is still, they have pieces in place where you can still compete. You can still make this thing interesting. And then from there, you hit on a piece right here. You maybe get a middle tier guy for agency, or you trade for somebody that's a little bit more higher end. But either way, the status quo, I just don't feel like you want to keep doing that now when you don't have that quarterback anymore.
Yeah. You have to kind of bargain shop a little bit. Try to find the outliers, try to find the values. Like last year's contract for Emmanuel Sanders with the Bills. That's an amazing contract.
Absolutely, dude.
Like if we could hit on one or two of those every season with having like a Russ. Like if you have a Russ, people are gonna want to come to your team. You even saw that with Seattle.
100%,
like,
bro.
AB, he could be a fit for them. This was a couple years ago.
Yeah, but seriously.
But that's the reason why they were talking about AB to Seattle, was because of Russ Wilson.
Absolutely.
That's why they tried signing Josh Gordon.
Absolutely.
I would like trying to do some of that stuff. Maybe Martavis comes back.
Shoot, that's even why Gronk even said, I'll go to Cincinnati to play with Burrow. It's like,
he said that.
Who said he wanted to play with Burrow? Yeah.
Really?
He did say that.
But no, that could be a huge difference.
Seriously though, it's like when you have that guy on your team in terms of the quarterback, the rest of the pieces, that is a lot more attractive. That is, shoot, I know me firsthand. Pittsburgh, Cleveland on the table. It's like, who's quarterback in Cleveland? I don't know right now. They got Ben. I think this makes even more sense over here. Like, that is real. Just speaking from experience. So yeah, I definitely. It's a good question right there, though, man. Yeah, shout out to Herman.
Absolutely,
shout out to Herman, think about. Man.
Because we could go in two directions right now. We could do the whole F the picks thing, trade for one of these quarterbacks, make some really nice free agent signings. Yeah. Or we don't address QB at all, build through the draft, and that could work. And
just think, whether you're talking restructures, we could get more money, whether you're talking either,
Oh, yeah, that too, contracts.
Right, I think of like that. I think of whether you're restructuring, releasing players, like there's still even more money that you could acquire and probably use a little bit more effectively than the way we've been doing it.
Yeah, because we're like 40-something right now. Maybe we could get that to like 60.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think of all of that, and I'm like, yo, why not this offseason? Because you have everything in place, and if it fails, you know what? You got plenty of stuff that...
I wonder, too, like even... I know we would joke a little bit about, do we get rid of Bush? Should we cut Bush? Yeah. But the thought of even trading him, that opens up about $8 million in cap space.
I know.
I know it wouldn't be the most flashy of pick we'd probably get back. It'd be higher than a third rounder for sure, probably fourth, fifth, or sixth. But if you wanted to go the whole free agency approach, aggressive, that would be an option. And I know there's some stuff about trading Claypool. I don't know if you necessarily do that, but you could get rid of even some of the guys through trades right now and then just start clean slate.
Like I said, if they want to do it, it's a proven method out there now. We've seen teams starting to fall into what the Rams are doing. Like I said, though, they've shown that when you do it the whole way and you actually commit to it, you can get this job done. You can win like that. I mean, shoot, Andrew Whitworth, he's another example. It's like, man, they got him from Cincinnati. It's like, dude, they didn't have to be aggressive picking him up at the time when they did, but you saw what he did since he's been out there. He's been their franchise left tackle, keeping them clean, and now he's a Super Bowl champ behind that. But it's like, imagine if when he became available, like, oh, no, Andrew Whitworth, no, man, we won't do that. Nah, man, nah, we're good on that. It's like, man, you never have that blocker. Now you either have to try to find them through the draft, and with the draft, like we say, even with these prices that we're saying are high end or perfect, they're never perfect. It's always a crapshoot. Even when they are, quote unquote, can't miss, it's always going to be growing pains. That's the part of the draft that makes people like me. That's why we always differ. When I'm like, I'm not a big, like, I love draft. Like, I'd much rather have proven players than high-end prospects, because a high-end prospect still has to develop. He still has to come in here and prove that he can do it. Whereas a guy that's already been doing it, I know what I'm getting. I don't have to hope he can take a second-year jump. I don't have to hope he can recover and get back to this form. It's like, no, this dude is already at this form. He's already proven, and that's why they typically cost more, but they're costing more because you don't have to have the guesswork anymore. And that's why I'm like, man, the Rams, they do that. We can do that, though, because I feel like our scouting department is still high end. Like, the type of talent that we've been able to find, like, why can't you take that and just be more aggressive with it? Why can't you do that same thing and be more aggressive with higher end players, not practice squad guy or middle roster guy, Keller Witherspoon type? Why not be aggressive, right? We talked about it. We picked up Witherspoon, but it's like, bro, we could have did the same thing more aggressive and got Gilmore. If we're picking,
why not do both? Because that's exactly what happened with Odell Beckham.
It is, though.
They already have a stacked receiving core with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, and then they got Higbee at tight end. Yeah, they didn't really need anyone at the time. Oh, well, we're just going to get Odell Beckham. Well, they had Deshaun Jackson even, too, but I think they got rid of him before.
But that was early on. But think about it. Deshaun Jackson was a high-end sign. It was like, you know what, this ain't work.
Deshaun Jackson.
It's all good.
Probably,
but it was like, yo, it ain't work. All right, cool. Let's get Get Odell, bring him in. And it's like, they don't care if they fail. They don't care if, this doesn't hit. And that's the other part. I feel like in Pittsburgh, we have this like pride that we can't miss on a pick. We can't miss on a free agent signing. Otherwise, the end of the world. Oh, no, now we definitely
I like
can't
taking
do
the
this.
chance. That Melvin Ingram signing was awesome to me. I don't care that it failed.
It's like, at least try. I'd rather you go down swinging than not swinging at all. Like, don't hit me with this and just sit here and watch the clock run. Shoot the ball. If you miss it, so what? But you might hit. And that's the other part of it, So that's kind of where I fall with that thing, man.